why I get grumpy, and I didn't used to, and it's because I'm fundamentally so upset and angry at the system and really frustrated that my beloved country's falling apart, that I tend to then get nasty, not just on air, but in person. And I apologize for that. But on the other end of that, shouldn't we be upset? I mean, is there something wrong with me that at Sandy Hook, they arrested people in camo and stuff that they later said they didn't arrest, and that they had green screen and clearly fake actors, and the people supposedly going in circles in and out of the building was clearly fake, a drill, and they didn't call the emergency choppers. And they parked the ambulances for an hour and a half down the road. And then now there's a new... When I get stuff like this, I don't go, oh, great, more proof they're frauds. I'm just like, I already know it. Video's up on Infowars.com. If you're a radio listener, you can go to Infowars.com/show to see the free feed. CNN fakes location report after Brian Williams discussion. So classic. They cut from Brian Williams to talk of Ukraine, where they got caught 2 years ago with a guy going, are you ready for me to fake the shooting? Okay, start shooting, claim dead bodies. And then they would, I mean, it's a joke. That was Anderson Cooper again. They're all a bunch of Brian Williams liars, in my view. The term surreal may not adequately describe the continuing national coverage of the ever-developing Brian Williams saga. And sandwiched in between talk of that, they have the reporters saying that they're in Ukraine and they're not, and then the green screen breaks up. This doesn't translate well, obviously, because it's visual for radio, but let's go ahead and play it just so it's on the record. Here it is.
The very segment after discussing Brian Williams, CNN and Anderson Cooper look to have been bitten by the green screen bug yet again. This time, however, from the other side of the so-called news desk. Cooper doing the interviewing, with CNN international correspondent Nick Patton Walsh supposedly reporting from the front lines of the Ukrainian civil war, except with half of what looks to have been a much shortened interview being marred by visions of the most common blue and green screen or chroma key colors, swiping across the actor in certain shots as he attempts to keep the public in the dark about what's actually going on, but glitching on CNN and the grand deceivers of the mainstream media in perhaps the most revealing moment possible, the very segment after discussing Brian Williams, showing anyone who cares just how little credibility they have left and why the mainstream media's ratings continue to decline despite a rapid growth in the amount of potential TV viewers during that same time frame. We tried to reach CNN and Anderson Cooper to find out if they had any comments about the most recent green screen escapade, not surprisingly, to little avail. We assume, however, had we been able to reach someone at CNN to talk about the most recent example of official news fabrication and embellishment, we'd likely have received some sort of undesired response anyway. Thanks again for tuning in to The Conspiracy Examiner. I'm Jeffrey Phelps with Examiner.com. And remember to like and share these articles and videos to all corners of the real world.
All right.
And we'll see you next time.
Very exciting to see other great reporters out there watching and tracking all this. We need more people getting the word out, not less. We ought to get that guy to do some work for us. That's a good, clean report, and that's how you expose the enemy. By the way, he could have added Anderson Cooper is admittedly CIA, and then shown his little blue screen malfunction from the Sandy Hook fakeness. We'll be right back. I'm Alex Jones.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Good, brother.
Just recently started using your products. Everything you said about them's correct. Me and my wife both use a lot of them, and it's made a lot of changes in our lives here.
Well, thank you, brother. It's because it also funds our operation, but doing that, I know I've got to have the highest quality. Super Male Vitality was developed to to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals.
We do the super male and the super female vitality. Big changes, a lot of energy. We've gotten off of the cheap energy drinks, energy shots, saving a ton of money there.
Sourced from powerful organic herbs, harvested around the planet, and then concentrated for maximum potency. They want us stunned and dumbed down, and energy drinks and stuff just cover that up for a while, but then burn you out, in my experience, whereas stuff that gets your glands naturally going goes right to the source. So it's pretty exciting, and I love it. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your super male vitality and other powerful products from InfoWars Life. We're live, broadcasting worldwide.
KLN, Los Angeles. Clone Radio. We play the songs that sound more like everyone else than anyone else. Clone.
Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. The Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns.
I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man.
The answer to 1984 is 1776. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Well, I told you 16 years ago in my film Police State 2000 that the federal government was setting something up called Homeland Security. That was several years before they officially set it up. And that it was under the RAND Corporation plan for a national stabilizing military/police force. You can look up those public plans. It's kind of why I knew what was coming in the future, because there was actual plans. I made films about it. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not psychic. And people would say, oh, come on, Alex, that's not true, even though I showed people the documents in the film. Well, today it's in Reuters and other publications. New York City's gunshot detection recording private conversations. Yes, it's a microphone system, not a gunshot detector. They're shotgun mics that can listen to you from hundreds of yards away. They were advertising them in the federal grants as that. The point is they treat us like children. A year ago, when we were breaking national news about illegal Stingray units being put up by Homeland Security everywhere, we broke the Stingray units 8 years ago. Mikhail Phelan had secret documents from inside Homeland Security. Became a national news story. They came out and said, we don't know what these are, and we're not putting them up. The FBI said that. They talk to us like we are children. And, of course, now they admit, oh, it is the government. We are grabbing all your cell phone data without warrants and listening to it and cracking your phones and running, you know, all this data management systems. It's an arms race, not just the NSA or CIA, but police departments. And they're spending our money to do it, and it's not being used to keep us safe, and it's unconstitutional. Now, continuing here, folks, I want to spend the next few segments, and then Anthony Gucciardi, our reporter, will stay with us when we take phone calls at the bottom of the hour, getting into how these things connect together. I'm not bragging. I'm just pointing out that I made films. I wrote articles that were in WorldNet Daily. Was interviewed in articles on WorldNet Daily at the time in 1998, 99, 2000 about plans for martial law, plans for gun confiscation, plans to use civil emergencies as the pretext to do trial run gun confiscations. You then saw it years later, 2005 at Katrina. You've now seen gun confiscations in Canada during flooding. They denied that last year. It just came out last week. It did happen. There are plans to prepare the police and military for gun confiscations. I don't need to play ABC News saying all the guns will be taken, no one will be allowed to be armed, and show them taking guns in Katrina in high and dry areas. You know that happened. Molon Labe, Connecticut's terrifying start of gun confiscation, town hall. It's beginning. Now, the military itself is not bad. They're some of the most awake people. But they are being prepared for gun confiscation and war with the American people. Now, last week, this broke at Infowars.com, and we're going to go back over it and show viewers. Radio listeners, go to Infowars.com and have Mikhail Thalen, who's working today, repost us the front page. Feds preparing to invade Texas. List state as hostile. Some participants will be wearing civilian attire and driving civilian vehicles. And then they admit it's a psyop to win the hearts and minds of locals and to basically prepare them for the, quote, needs of the military. That's what they said in that psyop on NBC News about clergy response teams, about under martial law, we're going to have to suspend your rights for the needs of the government. We don't have a country with a government. We have a government with a country, to quote William Binney, the former technical director of the NSA who was in studio with us last week. We're going under a Pacific Union because we're part of the Pacific. No one's allowed to see it, not even Congress. It's secret, just like the FCC power grab. It's all happening right now. So I want to give you some past articles. How the U.S. military would crush a Tea Party rebellion. Forbes. How they're trying to take on their #1 enemy, the, quote, Tea Party, because they're real Americans. Feds are preparing to invade Texas. There's that article. Here's the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program and National Emergencies Centers Establishment Act, Congress.gov. They don't call them FEMA camps, folks. That's what they call them. Hillary, we need fun camps for adults to teach them how to not be racist. That's called a re-education camp. We played that clip Friday. You cannot make this stuff up. That's what this is all about. HBO documentary hypes militia threat. See, they're gearing it all up. Now, you tie that in with this headline. Homeland Security monitors Tea Party at Florida IRS protest. BizPac Review. The war on the Tea Party. Washington Times. After declaring war on Tea Party, Karl Rove frets GOP establishment not getting enough donations. The war on the Tea Party. All these other articles. Obama tweets Netanyahu liked the Tea Party. Democratic boss last week. This was actually last year. They said it again last week. Tea Party more extreme than ISIS. That's the talking point. Montel Williams said that about me last week. Now, all of that said, people go, oh, like the Army's going to come into Texas and get the guns. Yeah, if they get ordered to and the Texas legislature says no, why do they list Texas and Utah as, quote, hostile to the, quote, Pentagon? Because the Pentagon works for the globalists now. They've had a massive purge of generals, admirals, you name it. There's missing nukes. We're going to break that down in a moment. You look at all the open borders, the power grabbing, Obama saying you can raise taxes outside of law. It's here. It's here. We're going to break in a few minutes, but I want to tie all this in with Bloomberg, the Daily Beast, and a whole bunch of other publications yesterday and today coming out and saying that I said that Obama's going to nuke Charleston. No, we said there were missing nukes in 2007. That came out. This time we had sources. There were missing nukes at Dyess. It did not come out, but there were responses in the media. And now that freeze on covering it's gone, and it's in the news. Wow. If true, Obama's secret plan to nuke Charleston, South Carolina. That's the headline. Anthony, we're going to break in 2 minutes. You've got the floor until we come back. And then when we come back, the point is they're moving. Things are changing. These stories all tie together. They're power grabbing everything. There's been another top nuke commander fired yesterday. This is basically everybody. Now, what do you think's going on?
Well, if we flash back to September 3rd, 2013, there's some really, really key points that highlight all of this. And it's important to understand our article that we did and the video we did. Exclusive, high-level source confirms secret U.S. nuclear warhead transfer. And specifically what that was, and we published the quote, was someone from Dyess Air Force Base telling us that they were secretly moving nuclear warheads from Texas to, specifically, they said, South Carolina. And here's what it gets.
And we called the police there that were in the big standoff with them in the illegal transfers. There was no paperwork. And they said, we're not going to comment on that. See, they never denied it. And then within hours, Lindsey Graham freaks out and says, do what I say or nukes are going to go off. CBS News.
Exactly, and here's the really important part. So the commander of the base was apparently on site to give authority to release. This is a quote from our source here. There was no directive. No one knew where they were going, but the truck driver said to take them to South Carolina. Okay, so we had, this is exclusive, but it's before anyone said anything.
And who's on the Armed Services Committee?
Yes.
Lindsey Graham.
Exactly. And then we have, on September 5th, we found out hours later he went on speech, and it wasn't even made public until September 5th. Senator Lindsey Graham warns of nuke strike after missing warheads report. Specifically, he said,